Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. My name is Jen and I am a student at Stony Brook University, and for today's video I'm going to be answering some of the questions that you guys have for me as far as college life goes and being a student at Stony Brook University. If you guys don't know, I'm about to be a senior. I just finished my junior year actually yesterday, so I'm about to be a senior at Stony Brook University. So I asked you guys to leave some questions on the why I'm moving out video. If you guys have not seen that, I will leave that up there as well as down below for you guys to check out if you're interested. But I asked you guys to ask me any questions you had as far as college life and going to Stony Brook University, so that's what I'm going to be answering today. But since I'm answering some of your guys' questions as far as college life goes, I really want to answer some questions that will let you guys get to know me more on a personal level. So in the comment section of this video, ask me any kind of question you have for me as far as my life goes, anything that you would like to get to know about me. Leave those down below and I will film a more personal Q&A in the weeks to come. But I have all the questions typed out on my computer in front of me, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at, all these questions. I have about 14 questions, but some of them have some like subsections, so 14 questions give or take. This will probably be a long video, so I hope you guys enjoy this, and if you find it helpful, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, head on down there and subscribe. I appreciate all the love and support, and with that being said, let's get into the video. I'm going to answer these questions to the best of my ability. This is all my personal experience and all that kind of stuff, so just a little disclaimer for you guys. But the first question is making friends. I got a lot of questions about making friends, and I got asked, was it hard to make friends? So in a nutshell, yes, it's kind of difficult to make friends at Stony Brook. We are a commuter-based school and the classes are huge, so it's really hard to make friends organically, like in class and stuff like that. Of course, it all depends on your major, but for me, I had a really hard time making friends, and the only friends that I really had were my roommates my freshman year. I actually met my roommates through an app that Stony Brook advertised. It basically was like a dating app for finding roommates. You fill out a whole bunch of information about yourself, you answer questions, you link your social media, and you match with people. And that's how I met my freshman roommates. I actually talked to them months leading up to move-in day, and I met them at orientation. So I did have friends coming into school. I didn't have friends from high school. I didn't come here with anybody, but I did have friends as far as my roommates go. So it is a little difficult to make friends. I definitely would say the best way to make friends at Stony Brook is to get involved any way that you can. For me, it was joining a sorority, which I will talk about in a second. But I had to join a sorority for me to make friends. I think that getting involved is a great way to make friends. But if you just come in here and you don't make the effort, you will have a difficult time making friends. Also, I'm sorry for the changes in the light. I use natural lighting, so the sun keeps going in and out. So if there's changes in lighting, that's what that is. But yeah, as far as friends go, making friends can be difficult. It's really what you make of it. And if you put the effort in to make friends and to get involved, you shouldn't have a hard time making friends at Stony Brook. So the next question I thought was funny is the social scene at Stony Brook as bad as it seems? And yes, it is what you make of it. There really isn't a whole lot socially for you as a student. There's no sorority row or fraternity row. There aren't like huge parties that are thrown. It depends. Some frats throw opens that are available to everybody. Some frats don't throw parties. There are really two bars that you can go to, the Bench and Schaefer's. So if you're of age or you have an ID, then you can go to the bar. But other than that, your social life is really what you make of it. Like I said, get involved, get a good group of friends together and make plans, and then of course you'll have a social life. But there's not a whole lot available in terms of like a college party life experience. It really is what you make of it. You need to make friends, you need to get involved, you need to network, you need to meet people, all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, for the average person going to Stony Brook, there really isn't much in terms of a social life. So the next question, I got a bunch of questions about sorority life, and I got asked about commuting and being in a sorority. And then I also got asked, do you think commuting makes it hard to get involved? So I'm going to answer all these questions in like an umbrella question. So first of all, sororities. I am in a sorority. I'm actually the vice president of my sorority. I've made a sorority experience thus far video way far back, like one of my first few videos, but I will link that down below if you guys are interested in hearing my sorority experience thus far. So I basically joined my sorority my freshman year, so I've been in it for 2 years now. I'm going on my third year, and I don't regret it. I think sororities are a great way to get involved in a whole bunch of different aspects. You get involved socially, you get involved with fundraising, community service, philanthropy, academically. It teaches you how to network, it gives you leadership skills. I think joining a sorority or a fraternity is a really good way to get involved in a whole bunch of aspects. As far as commuting goes, I know a bunch of commuters. I think my sorority is basically split half and half between people who live on campus and people who commute. I don't think you should let commuting stop you from getting involved. It's definitely doable. Of course, I've lived in Stony Brook student housing for 3 years now, so I can't speak personally, but after today when I move out, I will be commuting, so I'll give you guys updates next year as far as my personal experience with commuting and being involved. But I know a bunch of people who commute. I don't think you should let commuting stop you from getting involved. I actually think it's a really great reason to get involved because you're not making friends in the dorms, like living in the dorms, and I think making friends and getting involved helps the commuter life because you'll have people to eat with, you'll have like places to go and people to hang out with in between your classes. You'll have a reason to be on main campus. It'll get you involved because I know, or at least what I can see, is that commuters a lot of the times drive here for class and leave, so they don't really have a reason to be on campus and to get involved. But I think joining a sorority, joining a club, doing research, getting involved in labs, like any way you can get involved on campus, I think you should, especially if you're a commuter. It'll make it a lot easier for you to make friends and be involved on your campus, and will give you a lot of great opportunities that you probably wouldn't have if you just drove here for class and drove home. So commuting shouldn't be a deterrent. Sororities, I highly recommend it. If you guys want me to make a whole video about how to get involved in a sorority at Stony Brook University, like the recruitment process, I can't speak because I'm so congested, but the recruitment process, anything like that, I definitely can make that kind of video. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely let me know and I will film that before recruitment starts next year. The next question, I got a lot of questions about professors, classes, hardest class you've taken, how often do you study? So I'll start with professors. I think it all depends on what your major is. My major, psychology, I love my professors. They're some of the most personable professors I've had, approachable professors. They're extremely knowledgeable on the material that they're teaching. I love the majority of the professors that I've had as far as psychology classes go. As far as like prereqs go and some of the more basic like SBCs, which are like electives, I've had some pretty terrible professors. The hardest class I've ever taken was chemistry, and I probably should have guessed that I was going to have a hard time in chemistry since I had a hard time in chemistry in high school. But chem in college and at Stony Brook especially is so difficult. You have 3 different professors in the course of one semester. So like one class, you have 3 different professors. They like switch on and off with the material that they teach. It's very quick. They expect a lot of you for a 100 level course. I only took intro chem, like basic gen chem, and it was hard. So that definitely was the hardest class I've ever taken, and the worst professors I've ever had were for my chemistry course. But professors overall, I definitely suggest using Rate My Professor. Look your professor up before the class starts. Get to know what people have to say about them. Even before you enroll in the class, I would use Rate My Professor to get to know your professors. Ask around, ask people about professors. There's definitely professors that are marked like horrible, don't take unless you have to. And then there's a lot of professors that people recommend for easy A's, or their classes are very enjoyable, so stuff like that. So definitely use Rate My Professor and talk to people. As far as classes go, classes at Stony Brook, for sciences at least, are huge. I've had classes of 600 students, my bio class, my chem class, my intro to psychology class. I've had some huge classes, I've had some very small classes. I think it depends on your major and the class and the course and all that kind of stuff. But once I started taking classes that were exclusively psychology and for my major and sociology, I really enjoy the material. I enjoy going to class. The SBCs are a little annoying because like you have to take them and there's no getting around them, and they kind of suck. Prereqs and like intro courses like writing and all that kind of stuff, that kind of sucks, but you have to do it, and if you get it over with your freshman year and like the beginning of your sophomore year, it's really not that bad. So classes are huge, which kind of makes it hard to get to know people and to get to know your professor, but definitely utilize office hours, email your professor, talk to your professors before and after class, all that kind of stuff. That'll definitely help you. As far as how often I study goes, I study like a maniac and I study quite frequently. I think it just depends on your major, like I said, depends on what classes you've taken. I've taken classes that really only require studying for a few hours the night before. I've taken classes where I've had to study for weeks leading up to it. I definitely have honed in on like my perfect study technique. If you guys would like to see a video where I explain how I study and how I learned how to study and all that kind of stuff, I definitely can do that, but I think it just depends on the class. It depends on the test. Is it a quiz? Is it midterm? Depends on the material. Is it memorization? Is it like math? Like, I think it really depends on the class, but I study like a maniac. I sit for hours and study. I actually really enjoy studying, which is weird, I know, but I think it just all depends. And then I also quickly want to touch on TAs. So I talked about professors. They kind of suck. But TAs are kind of frustrating because a lot of classes at Stony Brook are taught by TAs, either undergrad or graduate, and a lot of the times they don't speak English very well. Like, English is not their first language. I had a math TA who didn't, like, English wasn't his first language, and it was extremely hard to learn the material because I couldn't understand him. And then for my research and writing class, my TA, her first language isn't English either, but she's grading papers obviously written in English, which is a little backward to me, but TAs are a little frustrating. Some TAs can be amazing and can really help and like make or break a course if you're having trouble, but some TAs don't speak English very well and it's a little frustrating. Some professors also don't speak English very well, like my chem professors. There was a little bit of a language barrier, which was kind of annoying, but I just think it all depends on the class, the professor you have, the size of the class, all that kind of stuff. If you're studying and all that kind of stuff depends on that. But at Stony Brook, science majors in particular, your classes are going to be huge. Your professors may or may not suck. Psychology, love the professors. Yeah, so the next question is about student demographic, and I think this has a lot to do with like TAs not speaking English as their first language. Stony Brook is a very diverse campus. There's a lot of international students, a lot of students from like Asia and India. There are of course students from all over the United States, but I feel like mostly you either get the people who live in New York or you get like international students. A lot of athletes are from all around the United States and some are international, but there's a lot of international students. So we have a very diverse student demographic, which I kind of enjoy going to a school where I'm exposed to a whole bunch of different people and a whole bunch of different demographics. I kind of enjoy that, and sometimes it is difficult, like as far as like TAs go and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, I really don't mind it. I kind of like having a very diverse school. So if you're coming to Stony Brook, we're very diverse. If you're an international student, highly recommend coming here. We have a bunch of international students, and if you're from other states, recommend coming here. If you're from New York State, recommend coming here. It's a great school and it is pretty inexpensive if you're an in-state student. So the next question is about dining halls and healthy options and food on campus. So I'm going to be very upfront. Stony Brook dining sucks. There's very little that is good. Eastside dining is probably one of the best dining halls. Of course, it has to be the furthest one from Taylor Quad, but it's one of the best dining halls. Highly recommend the kosher deli in the Emporium in Eastside Dining for salads. Those are really good. The deli at the Eastside Dining is really good for wraps and sandwiches. But aside from Eastside, Jasmine in the Wing Center is really good for sushi and like Asian food, all that kind of stuff. Really enjoy Jasmine. I feel like it's very fresh. It's made every day. All the sushi can be made right in front of you, so I like that. But as far as other dining halls like West goes and Roth and the Sac, it's really hit or miss. Eastside and Jasmine are like the two places that I recommend. And then as far as like healthy food options, I think you can find a healthy food option everywhere you eat. I know from people who are like vegan or vegetarian or pescatarian, it's a little bit difficult to find food options here, but there definitely are options for you. So I think it just all depends. Eastside, salads, wraps, that kind of stuff. It's definitely possible to eat healthy. Jasmine, sushi, all that kind of stuff. It's possible to eat healthy. It's a little bit difficult. Sometimes you just fall in the ways of wanting to eat pizza or fries or chicken fingers every day, which I'm not gonna lie, I definitely did my freshman year, but it's really, you really just have to kind of try everything out and figure out what's best for you and what you like. I got asked about advice for incoming freshmen or transfer students, and I actually think I want to film a whole video where I talk about my advice for incoming freshmen or transfer students, because there's definitely a lot of things I learned throughout the years that I didn't know coming into Stony Brook, like how to study, about it being a commuter-based school, how to get involved, how to stay on top of your work, how to make relationships with your professors, how to meet friends. There's just a whole bunch of stuff that I really learned throughout the years that I think would make a really good advice video for freshmen and transfer students, or just students in general. So I think that video is going to be separate from this one, so I'll talk about the advice socially and academically in depth in another video, and I'll get that up before the start of the next semester. But really quickly, academically, utilize the tutoring services, utilize TAs, utilize office hours. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Classes that are so huge, I know it could be intimidating to ask questions, but don't be afraid, ask your questions, and socially get involved. Really is the only way that you're gonna have a social life at Stony Brook. You have to get involved. But I could go in depth on all of this stuff, and I think I'm going to in a video that'll be uploaded before the start of next year. So the next question I got asked about UGC selection and how often do you get your first choice. So if you are coming to Stony Brook, you probably would have filled out, and you're living on campus, you probably filled out a survey. I'm pretty sure it's like a survey or a questionnaire. It asks you a whole bunch of things about your study habits, your music listening to habits, how often do you stay up late at night, do you smoke? Like, it literally asks you about everything. And then based on how you answer that, you also rank your UGCs in order, and then you get placed in a UGC. I thankfully got my first choice. I got SSO, so I got placed into Roth Quad my freshman year, which I loved. I loved SSO and I loved Roth Quad. So I got my first choice. I don't know how often it is that you get your first choice, but I thankfully got my first choice. I got SSO. So I think it all just depends how you fill out that questionnaire and how you rank them and stuff like that. I was lucky and I got Roth Quad, which is a hot commodity. SSO is a hot commodity because Roth Quad has air conditioning, and I got that my freshman year. I don't know why I'm holding my chapstick. Let's put that down. But yeah, kind of going in with that, the room selection process. So like I said, I was in Roth Quad my freshman year, so you're probably thinking, like, how did you get stuck in Tabler then? Well, my room was freshman designated, and I didn't know this until I went to do room selection for my sophomore year. So basically, I got displaced from Roth Quad because my room was designated for freshmen. So room selection occurs, it's like a week-long process. You get a date and a time based on your credit standing. So if you have more credits, you will have an earlier date and time. If you have less credits, you will have a later date and time. And then each day, it's a different criteria. So the first day is putting your name back on your bed in your room, your building, in your quad. Then I think the next day is like a different room in the same building in the quad. Then the next day is like a different building in the same quad. And then the last day is like completely moving out of your quad. And then based on the date and time and how that lines up, you can choose a room. It's kind of confusing, and I think you can find like an outline of how it is done online. If I can find it, I will link it down below. It's like what they send to us every year with like everything outlined. It's definitely confusing and sucks. A lot of the time you get stuck in a place where you don't want to be, aka me and Tabler, but it is what it is. But if I can find any information on how room selection works, if you guys want to read up on it now so you guys are a little bit more informed before room selection occurs after next year, I will link that down below. So the next question is, what can and can't you have in your room to decorate? There's a long list of things that you can and can't have in your room to decorate. All I'm going to say is you can have these things, just hide them. Be mindful of when room checks are, and RHD and an RA will come and check your room every other month. I think it is. It used to be every month, but now it's every other month. They will come and do like a room inspection and check and make sure like you don't have the things you're not supposed to have. Just be mindful when room checks are and hide it. You're not allowed to have like Christmas lights, like string lights. Those are a fire hazard. You're not allowed to have like tapestries or cloth hanging from your walls. You're not allowed to have toaster ovens, microwaves, hot plates, certain light bulbs, pets. There's like a whole bunch of stuff you're not supposed to have. If I can find the list of things that you can and can't have, I will link that down below as well, just so you guys don't bring things on move-in day that you're not supposed to have. Or if you do choose to bring these things, just be mindful that you do have to hide them before room checks so you don't get written up for them. No shot glasses, no alcohol, drug paraphernalia that we got written up for this year. I definitely got written up for a lot of things that in a normal situation, in the everyday world, you have in your house and you don't burn it down. It's fine. But yeah, if I can find that list of things that you can and can't have, I will leave that down below for you guys to read. Next question are the beds comfortable? So I'm quickly going to show you guys what the beds look like. So this was my roommate's bed. My bed was lofted all the way above my desk. So it really depends how your bed is. Some beds are closer to the floor. Some beds are lofted above desks. You could have bunk beds in your room if you have 3 roommates. It really just depends. The beds are not comfortable. I recommend getting a mattress pad, which technically you're not supposed to have, which I don't understand why, but they're never going to lift up your fitted sheet and check if you have one. So I recommend a mattress pad. Just don't let your RA know that you have one. So the beds are not comfortable, but there definitely are ways to make them comfortable. Since my bed is lofted above my desk, every time I would roll over at night, the bed would creak and crack, and I'd be terrified that I was going to fall or the bed was going to collapse. So yeah, not that comfortable. You definitely can make it comfortable and make it work, but yeah. So the next question I got asked was about kitchens in dorms. So basically every building has a kitchen in it, either in the basement or like the ground floor of the building. You have a kitchen, a full kitchen, oven, stove, microwave, sink, all that kind of stuff. And then some buildings have kitchens instead of common areas. So my room has like a living room with couches and like a coffee table, but some rooms have kitchens. I know my freshman year, my friend lived in Gershman and Roth, and they had a kitchen. You have like a tile floor, full kitchen in your room, like oven, stove, microwave, all that kind of stuff. And I can see why some people might want a kitchen in their room so they can cook and things like that. But I never personally wanted a kitchen in my room because then you just have higher chances of bugs in your room. I just feel like having a full ass kitchen, you definitely would find more bugs in your room. And plus I wanted like couches and like a entertainment area where you could like sit with your friends and hang out. So yeah, some rooms have kitchens in them. All buildings have kitchens in the ground, like on the ground floor or in the basement. It really just depends, but you have a kitchen nonetheless to make food. So the last question that I got asked is kind of about separate fees from tuition. So basically in-state tuition really isn't that bad. If you're living in New York and you go to Stony Brook, it's really not that bad. I pay in-state tuition because I live with Harris, but it's really not that bad. But there are separate expenses. So basically, I'm going to put my laptop down. Basically, if you live in a dorm, if you live in student housing, you have to have a meal plan. They make you have a meal plan. My freshman year, I had unlimited swipes where you basically can swipe into any area that uses swipes. So some dining halls use swipes, some dining halls use dining dollars or actual money. I had unlimited swipes my freshman year, and let's just say I got a little carried away. I did gain the freshman 30, and it was a heavy 30 pounds, not the freshman 10, not the freshman 15. I gained like the freshman 30. I've actually been toying with the idea of filming a video where I talk about my freshman 30 and my experience with gaining 30 pounds, how I lost the freshman 30, the aftermath, how not to gain the freshman 30, freshman 15, whatever the hell you want to call it. I kind of been toying with that idea. I feel like it would be a very raw video for you guys, and you guys would really get to know me more on a personal level. And yeah, so if you guys would be interested in hearing about my experience gaining the freshman 30 and what I did to lose it and the aftermath of all of that, I definitely could film that video. But yeah, freshman year I had unlimited swipes. So basically there's all different meal plans that cost a different amount. I have now, my sophomore and junior year, I had dining dollars. I had the most amount. It's like $1,500, which is a decent amount of money. I think it's like $2,000 to get the meal plan, and then it's $1,500 in dining dollars, which are like meal points. I highly recommend getting dining dollars. I think your freshman year you have to have swipes, but after that I recommend getting a meal plan that has dining dollars because you can pay to get into the areas with swipes, and you can also use your dining dollars at Starbucks, hence my coffee addiction, and then any other place that takes money or dining dollars. Whereas if you have swipes, you can only go to swipe dining halls. You can't trade your swipes in for dining dollars, if that makes sense. So yeah, if I can find the rubric that like explains all the meal plans and how much they are and what they entail, I will leave that down below for you guys to look into if you're interested. But yeah, unlimited swipes, dangerous. Dining dollars, highly recommend, because you can buy coffee, you can buy food from any of like the little stores that are on campus, and you can pay to go into swiped areas if you would like. And then as far as another additional fee, you can get student health insurance. When my parents moved to Florida, my mom obviously had to quit her job, so we lost health insurance, and then I chose to get student health insurance, which is expensive, and it's not the best health insurance. Obviously, health insurance is a privilege, and if you need health insurance through the school, they obviously will give it to you. You apply for it. just like you apply for any other insurance. But I did use student health insurance, and you can only use the student health service like facilities if you have student health insurance, which kind of sucks because they're not the best. I went to the student health office once with an ear infection, and I told them I had an ear infection, and they told me I did not have one, and then I ended up in the hospital 2 weeks later. So student health services are not the best, but if you need health insurance and your only way to get health insurance is through the school, get it and use it. But then this past semester I actually applied for Medicaid and I was granted it. So I waived my student health insurance and I got reimbursed for it. So that's how I found out how much it was. I think it's like $2,000, give or take. I think it's about $1,944 to be exact. But it's around $2,000 for student health insurance. And then someone asked me about transportation fees. And to my knowledge, Stony Brook doesn't have transportation fees. I've gotten on buses before and not had to pay. I think it's just included in your tuition or something like that, because I've never paid money to get on a bus. I think it's just included in your tuition, like to be able to use the buses and public transportation through Stony Brook, but I'm not really sure about that. So that's all the questions that I've answered or that I've gotten from you guys. If you guys have any more questions or some of the answers that I've given have raised any questions, definitely leave those down below. I can film another college Q&A. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I really want to do a more personal Q&A where you guys get to know me on a more personal level. So leave any questions, literally any questions. I will answer anything. Leave those down below and I will film a more personal Q&A in the weeks to come. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to hear that advice video or the sorority recruitment process video or my experience gaining the freshman 30 video, definitely let me know. I can film those in the weeks to come. Say goodbye to this room because I am moving out tonight, so you guys will no longer see these the wooden dresser background. And yeah, that's a wrap for my junior year. I hope you guys enjoyed all the content I've posted thus far and are excited for more content to come. If you haven't done so already, head on down there and subscribe. I appreciate all the love and support that I can get. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.